Welcome to NFL Nexus, your home for the deepest dives into the strategy behind the shield. Today, we are going to break down the Indianapolis Colts' incredibly complex offseason, and wow, is it a puzzle. We're talking high hopes, but some really hard choices ahead. If you're like me and you love getting into the weeds on how teams are actually built, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and definitely let us know what you think about the Colts strategy down in the comments. All right, let's get into it.
So, on the surface, the Colts recently made two moves that look like they have nothing to do with each other. One was a super low-profile player signing, the kind that barely makes a blip on the radar. The other? Well, it came from a high-level financial analysis that dug up a proposal that is, frankly, pretty shocking. But here's the thing. These are not separate stories. They are two critical pieces of the same high-stakes plan. A plan designed to finally end a frustrating 5-year playoff drought.
All right, so let's start with the first piece of this puzzle. Our journey into the Colts' master plan begins in a place most NFL fans just aren't looking, north of the border. The team made a really interesting move to add some juice to their defense, and it all starts with a guy named Devin Verusik, a linebacker who's been making some serious noise in the Canadian Football League. And believe me, this isn't just some camp body signing. There's a real story here.
Now, this right here, this quote is a huge deal. Verusik wasn't some player who couldn't cut it in the CFL. Just the opposite. He was a rising star for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and they willingly, happily let him out of his contract specifically so he could go chase his NFL dream. I mean, that tells you everything, right? It shows you the kind of respect he commanded up there. They truly believe this guy has a legitimate shot to make a real impact.
And here's the why. Just look at these numbers. This is why his old team was so supportive. In his very first year, he plays in all 18 games, racks up 66 tackles, a couple of sacks, and even a pick six. That kind of performance earned him the Frank M. Gibson Trophy as the best rookie in the entire East Division. So, let's be clear, this isn't some unknown player the Colts are just taking a flyer on. This is a decorated athlete who is the number 2 overall pick in the 2025 CFL draft.
Okay, so you might be thinking, a CFL guy, what's the big deal? Well, this is how it fits into the bigger picture. Verusik's arrival is not some random, feel-good story. Nope. It is a calculated, strategic move meant to solve a very real and very critical problem for this Colts defense.
And that's a totally fair question, right? Why go bargain hunting in another league when you've got the draft and you've got free agency? The answer is actually pretty simple. The Colts are staring down a potential depth crisis, a ticking time bomb really, at one of the most important positions on their defense. They need to find creative, cheap solutions before this thing blows up in their face.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of it. The Colts linebacker room is thin. But looking ahead to 2026, it gets scary. There are huge question marks about whether their key starters, Zaire Franklin and Jermaine Pratt, will even be on the team. Think about that. You might lose both of your starting linebackers. You have to plan for that. And that's what makes bringing in a hungry, productive, and, key word, inexpensive player like Verusik such a perfect low-risk gamble. For him, it's a massive opportunity. For the Colts, it's a potential solution to a very, very expensive problem.
And this is where things get really interesting. Because that small move, signing a CFL rookie, it's directly tied to the biggest challenge every single NFL team faces, the one that dictates every decision. It all comes down to the numbers, the dollars and cents. It comes down to the salary cap. And this is where the pressure really starts to build for GM Chris Ballard.
All right, look at this number, $33.8 million. This is the number that shapes everything the Colts are doing and thinking about. For the 2026 season, that's their projected available cap space. Now, that ranks them 13th in the NFL, which, it's respectable, it's solid. It means they aren't in trouble, but it is not a war chest. You can't just go out and solve all your problems by writing a blank check.
And this chart, man, it lays it out perfectly. GM Chris Ballard has done a great job avoiding the kind of situation you see with the Chiefs, who are projected to be almost $60 million in the red. But on the flip side, they don't have the kind of crazy spending power of the teams at the very top. This middle ground is classic Ballard. Stay fiscally responsible, avoid cap hell, but it absolutely means you have to be smarter and more creative with how you build your roster.
So if you're Chris Ballard and you're stuck in that middle lane, what do you do? How do you get more breathing room? Well, you've got a few tools in the toolbox. The most common one is to restructure the big contracts of your stars, guys like Quentin Nelson or DeForest Buckner. You could also use things like void years to kick the can down the road. But sometimes, those accounting tricks just aren't enough. Sometimes, you're forced to make the hardest choices of. And that, right there, leads us to the part of this that it makes your jaw drop. Because buried deep inside all those financial projections is a potential move that would send absolute shockwaves through the Colts fan base. It is a franchise-altering choice, and it involves one of their most popular players, a cornerstone of their offense.
Yeah, you're reading that right. Let that sink in for a second. According to the team's own financial breakdown, the most logical, the most direct path to creating a huge chunk of cap space is to cut their #1 wide receiver, Michael Pittman Jr. This isn't just some rumor floating around. This is a cold, hard financial reality that they are staring at. It's a painful but powerful option on the table.
So here it is, the brutal, cold, hard choice Chris Ballard is staring down. On one side, you keep your proven leader, your #1 receiver who just put up a career-high 7 touchdowns. But on the other side, you free up a staggering $24 million. Now, the argument against him is that, yeah, the touchdowns were great, but his total catches and yards were actually among the lowest of his career. And, crucially, his production fell off a cliff as the Colts just collapsed down the stretch, losing their last 7 games. Is that production worth that massive cap hit? That's the billion-dollar question.
Now, it's never as simple as just getting a pile of cash back, right? You've got this thing called dead money. It's basically the guaranteed money from his signing bonus that the team is on the hook for, even if he's not on the team anymore. For Pittman, that's $5 million. So they don't get the full $24 million, they get $19 million. But here's the kicker. With the emergence of young receiver Alec Pierce, who's going to need a new contract himself pretty soon, the front office might just look at that net $19 million in savings and think it's worth it.
Okay, let's step back and look at the whole board. Let's bring all these puzzle pieces together for the final verdict. When you connect the dots, from an unheralded rookie out of the CFL, all the way to a superstar who could be a shocking cap casualty, you see the full, high-pressure picture of a make-or-break offseason for the Indianapolis Colts. And let's be crystal clear about this. After failing to make the playoffs for 5 straight seasons, the stakes could not possibly be higher. The pressure is immense. For general manager Chris Ballard, a lot of people think this is it. This offseason is widely seen as his last real chance to prove that his method, his philosophy of team building, can produce not just a competitive team, but a real, honest-to-goodness contender. The clock is ticking, and it is ticking loud.
So what we're really seeing here is a strategy with 2 very different sides. On one side of the coin, you have the low-risk, high-reward gambles, the bargain hunting, trying to find hidden gems like Devin Verasuk. And on the other side of that same coin, you have these gut-wrenching, high-stakes choices, like maybe, just maybe, cutting a star player to get financial flexibility. Both paths are wildly different, but they are both aimed at the exact same goal, finally breaking this playoff drought.
So, will it work? Will this combination of shrewd, small ball moves and bold, franchise-altering decisions be the formula that finally brings the Colts back to relevance? I guess only time is going to tell. Thanks so much for watching this deep dive here on NFL Nexus. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. And hey, before you go, if you're looking for a way to unwind after all this intense football talk, you can really help support the channel by checking out our coloring books. Seriously, they're perfect for kids, grandkids, and even for adults who just need to de-stress a bit. You can find them using the link in the description or by scanning that QR code right there on your screen. We'll see you next time.